The S25 Ultra is going to destroy performance even on the S24 Ultra. It's going to have the new Snapdragon 8 Elite processor, which just got announced at Snapdragon Summit, and the numbers are absolutely off the charts, like crazy off the charts. And there hasn't been this big of a leap in chip technology for mobile phones since I can't remember when. Like normally we take a look at it and say, okay, a little bit better here, a little bit better there, 15% better performance, 10% better battery. The metrics on this thing are just insane, like stupid insane. It's crazy. I was looking at it, I'm like, man, I know these are claims by Qualcomm, but this is something that I think is really going to help take phone performance to the next level because it's going to get better power, better performance, but better battery and efficiency. So let me just read some of these numbers off for you. Just these are improvements over the Snapdragon 8 Generation 3, which is currently in the S24 series phones, S24 Ultra, especially here in the United States. I know outside the States and some markets have the Exynos, but this is going to be a tremendous upgrade, and hopefully it goes in all the phones. So listen to this. The Snapdragon 8 Generation 3, the Snapdragon for Samsung chip, a little bit clocked higher, 3.36 gigahertz in the S24 Ultra. The new Snapdragon 8 Elite is going to be clocked at 4.32 gigahertz. 4.32. That's like almost an entire gigahertz higher. I mean, 3.36, 4.3. Basically, it's a gigahertz faster on the top end speed. That's insane. But then the efficiency cores are going to get a boost up into the 3 gigahertz range, which is just crazy on its own. But 45% better single core improvement. So 45% faster single core, 45% improvement on multi-core, 62% on web browsing, and a total of 24 megabyte cache, which is the largest, I guess, in any chip that you can get. But power savings, you're going to see a 44% power savings on the CPU, 40% power savings on the GPU, and 45% AI performance per watt, and also 27% overall system on a chip performance power savings. So we're going to get an extra gigahertz out of the top end speed, but it's going to do it with 44% less CPU power, 40% less GPU power, and 27% overall SoC reduction in power. How are they going to do that? I don't know. It's just wizardry, I guess. But it's crazy because it's also built on the 3 nanometer platform based on the Orion second generation chipset. So what Qualcomm is doing here, working with TSMC, is like crazy special. And I hope that that gives us some insight as we move forward for the Pixel phone whenever it comes out next year. Because the Google Tensor 5, or whatever they're going to call it, is supposed to be made by TSMC, no longer Samsung. And we'd like to see some of these boost improvements as well. Because think about this. It's bad enough when you take a look at the Snapdragon 8 Generation 3, 3.36 gigahertz, 3.31, whatever you want to call it. And then you look at the Tensor at 3.15, and then the benchmarks, of course, are better, which is a whole nother story, really not that big of a deal. But, yeah, when this comes out, 4.32 gigahertz as opposed to 1.35, over 1.2 gigahertz faster. And then you take a look at the efficiency cores, and those are going to blow them out of the water. Listen to this. So it's supposed to be better at AI. It's supposed to be significantly better at AI, and, that's cool and all that. But it's supposed to be able to process 70 tokens per second. 70 tokens per second. And whenever it comes to the Google Tensor 4, it's either 45 or 50. I think it's 50 tokens per second. It was supposed to be the best. The Tensor G4, when it was launched, they made the claim that it was the best who could process the most tokens per second. And when you think about tokens per second, it's an AI metric. So a token is anything that can be basically it's like a character. Like whenever you're processing text, whenever you're doing large language model AI processing, they process that stuff and they break it down by tokens. So the letter A is a token. Like a space is a token. An asterisk is a token. So like whenever you say you can do 45 or 50, that's the length of tokens that it can process basically at once and give you whatever your LLM or whatever your AI result is that you're looking for. That's how it processes that. But when you look at 70, that just opens that up even more. And then here's another thing. It's going to have multimodality, which, I mean, the Tensor has multimodality. But when you look at putting this into the Android platform, putting it into a phone like the S25 Ultra, which is going to far exceed the S24 Ultra, it's going to have such big improvements in the image signal processor, which one of the reasons we haven't seen a lot of tremendous leaps in actual camera hardware the last few years is because the system's on a chip with the AI, with the image signal processor built in the chip. They're doing all that post-processing, computational photography stuff. Like we've heard these words thrown around before. It's basically what Pixel's been doing for a long time. They've been doing computational photography for the longest time. They use the same sensor for years, and then they use the computer, basically, to sharpen up and process the image and make it look better. So it's like a hand-in-hand relationship. You take a good picture with the sensor, and then the ISP polishes it up and makes it look even better. Well, not only are you going to still have the post-processing, you're still going to get those great after-the-shot improvements. Now, the image signal processor, working with the multimodality and the AI, can use and take advantage of sensor data at the same time. So if it needs to adjust things for the white balance, or it needs to adjust other things on the front end of the scene to optimize the photo at the point of capture, and not just do it after the point of capture, like that's insane. Plus, it's going to be off the charts for gameplay. It's going to be off the charts for power. This is a generational power improvement. This isn't just like, okay, yeah, we got an extra 15% power. We got an extra 20%. We're talking like 30, 40, 50% improvement ranges, 60% improvement ranges. And it's funny because they actually do focus on optimization for web browsing. Apparently, web browsing still is something that suffers even on phones that have 3 and 4 gigahertz processors, I guess. But it's supposed to have, I think, over 60% improved efficiency and speed whenever it comes to handling web page data, which, I mean, yeah, it can be kind of annoying sometimes. It seems like there's always inefficiencies in the browser department. So, hey, anything that makes life better, bring it. But I was just listening to all this stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is insane. Like, it's going to blow the tensor out of the water in the tokens per second department conversation. And again, let me read these numbers for you. Power savings, 44% CPU power savings, 40% GPU power savings, and overall 27% system on a chip savings for power. But then it's giving us the extra gigahertz of power. So an extra gigahertz of power, but 44% less reduction on the energy required for the chip. And then you get 45% single core improvement, 45% multi-core improvement, 62% web browsing. That's just insane. And they're saying 40% improvement for gaming performance. And this is going to be great for things like, Unreal Engine, Nanite, Chaos Engine, Qualcomm Orion, all these things. I mean, we're going to be talking like serious console level performance with ray tracing and all that. I mean, it's supposed to be 35% ray tracing improvement. That's hardware-based ray tracing. That's not software. We're talking a 35% improvement in ray tracing on the hardware alone. I mean, that's just crazy. So yeah, 3 nanometer process is going to have support Wi-Fi 7, all that great stuff, and 5.3 gigahertz dual channel LPDDR5X memory. So yeah, this is 45% faster neural processing unit. So if you take a look at all that stuff and lump it together, this is going to be like the Ferrari of chips for Android. This is like not even the Ferrari. It's like the Bugatti, depending on what region you're from. But we're talking about serious mind-blowing power, but not taxing the battery. It's going to have all this crazy, insane power, but better efficiency, better battery life. That's some serious hardware voodoo. And I can't wait to test this out. There's already phones lined up that, Honor's announced they're going to have a new phone with it. IQ's got phones coming out with it. Xiaomi, I think the Xiaomi 15 series is going to be the first ones rolling out with it. So we got to wait a little while to get to the Samsung Galaxy S25. But just think of the implications for what we're going to get on performance, on daily usage, on optimization, for battery life, for efficiencies. This is something that seriously should have a meaningful impact in your day-to-day usage on your phone, especially if you use it on the harder, high-end stuff. I mean, that's just crazy. Over a 4 gigahertz clock speed. That's insane on a phone. But then you're telling me it's going to get better battery life and 30, 40, 50% more efficient than the previous generation. Those are mind-blowing numbers in a year-over-year categorical upgrade in any of those departments, much less all of them. So anyway, I just was blown away by this. This new Snapdragon 8 Elite processor is going to be game-changing. I think they've announced it's like the most powerful chip in the world, even more powerful than the A18. which, I mean, yeah, that's cool. It's different platforms, though. I don't really buy that much into it. I just know it's going to be amazing, and I'm looking forward to it. But also, I have that reservation of caution. So I'm like, okay, this thing's already blowing the Pixel Tensor 4 out of the water in tokens per second processing. And then we know that Samsung uses a lot of Gemini AI stuff that's been relabeled. So AI stuff's going to get significantly faster. It's going to get smoother. It's going to be better. And then also that hardware-based multimodality where it's able to take advantage of contextual things and other data from other sensors and hardware on the phone. That's going to be crazy. So, yeah, a lot of nerd talk here, but it's just interesting to me to see where this has gone. I mean, the very first computer I ever built, like I started building computers when I was like 11, and I used to mow my neighbor's yard, a guy that I went to church with that we grew up with, and he had his own computer business on the side, and he would pay me in computer parts. So I'd mow his yard one week, he's like, here's a processor. Mow his yard the next week, here's a motherboard. He just would give me these parts all the time. So finally I put together enough parts. The first computer I ever built was a Cyrix DX2 386 33 megahertz computer. 33 megahertz. I had 4 megabytes of RAM and a 190 megabyte hard drive. That was the very first computer I ever built, and that was in like 1994, 1995-ish, maybe 96. Yeah, it was in like middle of the 90s. And just putting that into context now, here we are 30 years later with a chip that's so tiny, 3 nanometer processor with a whopping 4.32 gigahertz core speed on the primary core. That's just insanity. So anyway, good job, Qualcomm. Looking forward to see what this does as we get into some phones and I can actually test it out. I mean, this is a really, really groundbreaking kind of stuff. So anyway, that's all I got. I know it's a lot of nerd speak, but hopefully I was able to maybe translate that a little bit to some understanding, and hopefully it helped. But anyway, if you got any questions, comments, gripes, concerns, all that stuff, of course, go to the comment section. I'll do my best to get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, if you found this helpful, if you like this stuff, of course, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out, which is every single day, sometimes twice. You never know. I took a day off like 2 weeks ago for the first time in months, so pretty regular here. So if you like all the stuff, stay tuned. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.